what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to head down to houseofdecline.com and patreon.com/House of Decline, where you can subscribe to get more comics, more podcasts, more insights into the inner lives of Steven and I. What do we do? Do we jet ski together? No. But you'll be able to confirm that once you subscribe. Do we go on fabulous vacations to wine country together? No. But you will be able to confirm that once you subscribe to patreon.com/House of Decline. That's HAUS of Decline. And the subject we're going to talk about today, I'm doing a mea culpa. I'm doing a mea culpa, Stephen, because last week I made some positive comments about Andrew Callahan of Channel 5. I enjoyed his content, and then it turns out he has a bunch of allegations against him. They started spreading earlier this week about doing some things that are within the realm of sexual assault, and it's sort of. I had a moment where I heard the old Price is Right bum, 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 go off, because as soon as you praise a guy, you learn they're a creep. As soon as you endorse a person, think that they have something to offer. Think that, this person is maybe creating something that I would like to produce or admire in some way or model yourself after, and then it turns out, they're just a fucking criminal. Can't do anything about that. All this fame is in service.
Reminds me of that time in 1990 when I was like, Saddam Hussein, now that's a guy I really look up to. And then the very next day.
It was terrible.
He invaded Kuwait.
Yeah, that reminds me, back when I lived in Colorado, I was talking to my good buddies, Claybold and Harris, and, we all know what they did. And
okay. That's cool. That's cool, man. I dig it.
I just did your same joke, but worse.
You did. Let's keep going.
I did your same joke, but worse.
This reminds me of the time I was in Saudi Arabia, and I knew a young prince named Osama. And I was like, What a great guy. This guy's so great.
This is my buddy. I went on the radio and said, Osama, man, you gotta love this guy. So why would he be in Saudi Arabia and not Afghanistan?
Well, he was a Saudi prince, wasn't he?
What?
Yeah, he's like a Saudi prince.
Are you making this? I don't know much about the history of Osama bin Laden.
I'm podcast.
I'm gonna fact check it. Yeah, he's I don't know. I don't know about his Saudi associations. I don't know about his Saudi associations.
I know a lot of history.
You know a bunch of history.
Well, that's why, based on my experiences both with Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden, I knew not to praise Andrew Callahan. I could tell.
You knew the signs. You saw the signs. They were coming. Yeah, obviously. But that's funny too, because some people. What I find interesting is the bevy of reactions to this. Like, one reaction is, I loved their work. This is so disappointing for me because now I can't, love my media again, which is a reaction that I have. And I think a lot of people have when you're confronted with something where maybe something has even meant something to you personally or spiritually. And then you have to reconcile that the author of that not only did a bad thing, but a bad thing that sort of undermines the spirit of the art that you enjoyed to begin with as well. It's that old, it's the hypocrisy. I don't think the hypocrisy was the worst thing, that old Norm Macdonald joke. There's that one reaction where you sort of, you don't know how to react to this. It didn't happen to you. You want a stake in this argument or this piece of discourse, so you have to fumble for this little morsel of entertainment was very important for me, and this sucks. I'm so disappointed. That's another thing you say is I'm so disappointed, because you had appointments to begin with. You had an image of this person supposedly a good guy. And I don't know why that dissolution is so embarrassing to people. Because it's like it affected them as people say this, like, I put my personality into this guy, so I must be this guy. This person is an avatar of me, and thus an avatar of me would be accused of something. That's like me being accused of something. You know, a small part of you or a small part of the you that was invested in this other person is now guilty of some terrible act. So I think that's one reaction that people have. Obviously, you know, the only reaction which you should logically have is, you know, terror and hope for the victims eventually getting justice. I think that's the only real, like, suitable conclusion is, like, I hope this is meted out, and I hope people are able to get some form of recompense for this, some form of comeuppance for someone. Just because, you know, you also don't want this person continuing to utilize their role in the fame professions to further be able to victimize people like this. And
he's checked himself into the psych ward.
There you go. I didn't see that Andrew Callahan has checked himself into the psych ward.
First thing he did was checked himself into the psych ward. Second thing he did was he got a lawyer and had a lawyer respond to the allegations, being like, Andrew recalls things differently.
Yeah. So, and switch deny.
Also, the lawyer was like, it's never okay to try to exploit someone for money when these allegations are made. So they were kind of he's insinuating that he's being extorted, blackmailed, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the play. I don't believe it. I mean, the ones against Callahan are pretty compelling because it's several women all saying having similar stories as to how he treated them, and it's something that you observe. Like, I don't know if like entertainment professions tend to attract a greater amount of predators, but I think there is something to that because part of what entertainment is being able to cast a glamour over yourself. Even like the small amount of fame that I have gotten out of the dumb cartoons on Twitter, people are like genuinely excited if I follow them, which is ridiculous. You shouldn't be excited if I follow you. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I'm a moron. That's not a special event.
No one in real life is too excited when I follow them.
No.
Especially on the street or late at night.
Stalking is often met with concern and derision.
Derision?
Derision, yeah. People deride stalking. Yeah.
Well, wait, no, I'm bean stalking. I'm not. Oh, come on. I'm bean stalking you.
You're. That's how you dress it up as like little friendly bean stalking.
Yeah, little tendrils.
You're bean stalking someone.
Listen, I wasn't the one who said I liked his stuff on last week's episode.
You're right.
So luckily, I don't have a mea culpa to issue.
Yeah, you don't have to do any. Any big public apology.
His stuff, I don't find to be that groundbreaking, and a lot of people were like, "This guy is the best journalist of our generation." I was like, "Really? Are you sure?
Probably not." Yeah,
he would go to college campuses and then give the microphone to boys, and the boys would be like, "Show me your butthole." And then he would put that on YouTube, and people would be like, groundbreaking journalism. Look, wow, they're drinking beer at college. They're drinking beer at NASCAR. They're drinking beer at the Super Bowl. They're being drunk and disruptive.
Everyone likes that gag. Who doesn't like that gag? You'll find another person will fill that niche. Soon enough.
He doesn't really say anything in his videos. He just kind of lets people talk, which is good.
Yeah, but he edits them, and he had an eye for the particularly unusual. But I like to think that I could do that sort of thing as well if I put my mind to it as well.
I mean, whatever. He's a dude who did bad stuff, and he should say sorry.
That sort of segues into another reaction that people have the story, a very stupid reaction, where it's like, I always knew he was bad. I hated his content.
Yes.
That was my
reaction. Right? I'm very righteous. Yeah, I never liked him in the first place.
Yeah, which is another way of making it all about yourself as well. I mean, but just by doing this podcast about the subject, we're making it all about us. So I guess there's no way to escape it. But I think it's also part of the dialogue, too, because by discussing it, you get it out there. You get it on people's minds. So maybe we're the heroes, Stephen. Maybe we're the heroes of spreading awareness.
I never sent links. Actually, no, I did. See, the thing is, like, I did like his stuff at the beginning. I sent it around because he interviewed these crazy, interesting people. But I don't, necessarily think it's like too much of him in it. But maybe it is. I don't know.
What's interesting to me is after like one of these things happen, how you evaluate the media in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Like before you heard all that shit about Louis C.K., when you were watching Louis, he was like, man, he has all these things about, he does that scene where he basically rapes Bobby Hill in that one episode. And this was supposed to be funny. It's like now you can see all the clues of them telling on themselves in their artwork. Mm-hmm. Like all their like weird sex predation stuff becomes much more apparent when you go back and revisit it. Which is another effect that happens when this happens to specifically someone in the entertainment industry. And of course, the other huge news about an awful person, or an allegedly awful person, which I am choosing to believe is an awful person. I'm pretty convinced at all of the allegations, is Justin Roiland of Rick and Morty, who has been accused of domestic abuse and false imprisonment, I believe. That's not just the charges. So the charges are more complicated than that.
What is false imprisonment?
Keeping someone in a place against their will.
Like in a room or a house?
Yeah, sure. It's just saying they can't leave somewhere.
You can't leave here.
Yeah.
Well, that's troubling.
It's very troubling.
It roils my thoughts, if you will.
It roilings your thoughts. And see that I think the other thing about this, when it happens to like fucking cartoonists or goofy ass people that actually actively like cultivate a air of goofiness and eccentricity, such that it seems like this guy, how could it possibly be this guy? He's always going, haha, hey, I'm a crazy guy. I'm always just talking like this. Who knows what I say? Even when I'm doing this little pitter patter, this little gish gallop that I always do, I might be talking about sex crimes, but then I go, oh wow, oh geez, and and then he does that sort of. He's able to sort of hide creepy stuff by doing that sort of self-effacing stream of consciousness rambling style. Of course, Rick and Morty often descended into weird stuff. Now you're watching it again and you recognize there's a lot of jokes about Rick and Morty fucking.
I'm not watching it again.
Yeah, I'm not watching. I dipped out after the third season.
I tried to watch the recent season, like well before, like maybe like 2 months ago, and it's pretty boring now. I don't know.
Yeah,
he made his $1 billion, and. Now he's gonna have to use it all on legal defense. So
let's hope. Let's hope he is not afforded more fame. But it's like weird how some of these people in the animation industry continue to persist even after like the hammer has fallen. One big example recently is John Lasseter of Disney Pixar. He was one of the Disney Pixar's founding members, a titan of the animation industry, also a known creep, and stuff had gone around the industry for years and years about him being a creep, such that he even had quote unquote minders at Pixar to make sure he didn't get too handsy with the interns. Let's see. You can go the allegations of sexual misconduct and exit from Disney Pixar on the Wikipedia page.
Okay. I'm going there now. Hold on, buddy.
Go there now. We're just reading Wikipedias to each other, like every podcast. The alleged conduct became so well known that, according to Variety, at various times Pixar had minders who were tasked with reining in his impulses, which is a terrifying statement. He's just getting handsy with all the young
just
people,
grabbing people and kissing them on the mouth, huh?
Yeah, that's what he was
See,
doing.
that's not cool behavior. You got to wonder, where is his father figure? Where is his Peterson? Why isn't Peterson here to tell John Lasseter?
If all of these creep animators had Jordan Petersons in their lives, then this would have never happened.
Let me ask you, can you even imagine if Jordan Peterson had anything to say to Justin Roiland, how that might go?
He'd be like, wow, you turned yourself into a pickle. But that is, of course, if we go by Jung, you are turning yourself into the phallic representation of light and order. What Rick does is he rejects the lunar feminine of the psychiatrist played by Susan Sarandon, who is, of course, peddling neoliberal postmodernism. You know, he would say to, be like Pickle Rick. He would like Rick for being the pickle. Oh, and he would admonish the Susan Sarandon character for using bogus psychotherapy.
I bet you Peterson starts talking about Justin Roiland pretty soon.
Well, because this is the move now. Like, because after all of these guys are like the move is to go to the right wing.
Yeah,
because that's who accepts you. You know, that's your audience now. Because those are the people who can tolerate sexual assault allegations. Those are the people who also are like, so many men are falsely accused. So many, this happens all the time, and will, like, in bad faith bring up Emmett Till or something like that, which is always a fucking crazy lateral move. So Justin Roiland is a big component of this. The other thing with Lasseter is that he was hired recently again. He made a whole movie called Luck that was out on some streaming platforms. I don't know. It looked pretty generic. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he was still given an opportunity to direct, even though these widespread sexual harassment allegations, it's just, there's...
Well,
shows
yeah. I mean, there is a
Hollywood
scale.
Man.
Listen,
Hollywood man.
there is a scale of things that are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Lasseter has not been sure. Like, it doesn't seem like he committed a felony. He just committed, like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, he did. It's fucked up if your boss touches and kisses you, and it's really fucked up.
But like, if you get charged with domestic violence, then. Like,
yeah, that's a bit more of a death sentence.
If Mr. Justin Roiland will come back from being charged with this, because that's like very, very, very bad to hurt someone in that way physically. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, also, the thing with Justin Roiland is there are tons of rumors, like far more than Lasseter. Like the volume of industry rumors apparently about Justin Roiland was huge. It was a known hidden secret that he was a groomer.
Didn't the other guy, Dan Harmon, do bad stuff?
Yeah, but Dan Harmon is an interesting case. He sexually harassed someone on the set of Community. I don't know if that's the only thing he's done, but that was the big thing that he was called out for. But Dan Harmon is such a good writer that he did his was the only sexual harassment apology that worked, and it was astonishing to see, because it was like, man, Dan Harmon, he's like a pathetic drunk, but he can turn a word such that he casts this glamour over people and makes them forget about the bad thing he did.
What was his apology? Well, I want to look up his apology. What was it? I want to see.
He did like a Harmontown where he was like, he did it correctly in the sense that he took full responsibility for it. And, like, remember when Louis C.K.'s apology came out in, like, I forget which paper of record it came out in. I did it
because I hate my daughters. Ha, 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 ha.
Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. But it was basically that flip. It was like, I'm sorry you feel that way type of apology. Whereas Dan Harmon, he knows enough about story structure, which is a terrible thing to say. But he knows enough about story structure to know that you can't pull that shit off. You need to give people, like, a compelling arc, which is, the arc that you go for is redemption. So I did a bad thing.
So he didn't just read the lyrics to Creep by Radiohead?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't.
That's my go-to apology.
When I came here before, couldn't look you in the eye.
I'm sorry. None of this is funny. I'm sorry. It's not funny.
None of this is funny.
I don't.
But
These bad dudes. I don't know why they're bad. I'm a bad dude. I've done some bad things.
not to this degree.
Not to this degree.
You didn't.
But like, what's surprising to me as a guy who would like did some things that I'm not proud of in my 20s is that when now that I'm in my 30s, sobering up, I'm sober now, looking back, it's like, I wouldn't want to remain like that. I don't want to keep being like that. So I changed myself. Why do these guys, they're in their 40s still doing this shit? Like, yeah.
Well, that's also what, the extremely petty thought that crosses my mind is like, not only are you like have outgrown this petty 20-year-old shit, or even in the case of like Andrew Callahan, when you're still in your 20s and you're doing that like fucked up shit, like how do you not worry about the thing you've built, the success that you've built being torn asunder by this? How is that not, like, forget all moral reasons, just the practical thing of this will destroy you if it ever gets out? How does that not weigh? Is it just that you think you can get away with it consistently?
I don't know what's going on in his head. I mean, he does have that history of his first project, All Gas, No Brakes, basically being ripped out from under him. So that might have engendered like some kind of nihilism where he's like, he doesn't care.
I don't know if you can, I don't know if that's the reason.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not a justification, but just to sort of explain like why wouldn't he be worried?
Psychoanalyzing the mind.
Well, that's an interesting part of his history, which is that.
But even like someone like Justin Roiland, who like made enough money to live forever off of it and to continue. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is just like I have now this like power, and I have already peaked. So now the thing to do is to get fucked with it.
Well, maybe Callahan thought like I'm all powerful. I can have my shit ripped out from under me and I can build it back up again. It does like I that kind of thing where he's like, when you're in your 20s, you're so dumb and irresponsible, and if you've already built a sort of hugely successful project, had it taken away from you by a shady media company that stole it from you, and then build up another one, he probably was like, I can do no wrong,
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
No, I think that's it. That's like that sense of invulnerability is definitely part of it. For, taking over your better senses of even just the sense of self-preservation, that it's amazing that doesn't get in the way to me. Because I don't expect people to be moral, but I expect them to be selfish, and like not doing a bad thing because you don't want to get in trouble is like that's like a selfish behavior that I expect people more or less to carry out most of the time.
Yeah, but not at the grocery store, okay? Not when you're stealing stuff from the grocery store, which is our friends of the show, Big Shiny Takes, have been going over this. Everybody go to patreon.com/Big Shiny Takes and subscribe.
That's right.
To our sister podcast. They were there for us from the very beginning, and they've been taking on the food professor.
The goddamn food professor.
Are you aware
we
of
hate
this
that
food
guy.
Professor? They're taking.
Yeah, he's some sort of shill for the Weston family.
They are taking him head on. Okay, because the food professor said it's not right to steal from the grocery store, even if the prices are fucking out of control. And I couldn't disagree more.
The food professor is fucking wrong. They should call him the food knave. He knows nothing about food.
It is always morally correct to steal from the grocery store. And things that I like to steal include frozen sausages and Haagen-Dazs ice cream. What do you like to steal from the grocery store?
Prosciutto. Prosciutto. Because it's expensive and very easy to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. I actually had a little bit this morning for breakfast from a plastic bag. I ate it out of a plastic bag.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Eat a little prosciutto out of a plastic bag.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Get back to this conversation about animation industry creeps.
Any more sexual assaults you want to go over?
Any more sexual assaults? Let's talk about sexual assaults for a bit. We should probably put a content warning at the beginning of this episode.
Well, I'll do a content warning.
Because I guess we talk about it with this flippancy because it is sort of horrible to behold, especially when you're divorced from it. And, you go through the news cycle, and especially when it's something that you care about too, because I care about animation. I care about the animation industry, and I care about the pressures on this industry. Not only do these people not have a union, they're just all sorts of, there's a lack of protection for them, which includes, what happens if you're working on Rick and Morty, you're an animator working on Rick and Morty, and then this guy, the person, it hinges on this one guy, and he fucks up, and then you're fucked. And what is your job security? You don't have a union. You don't have anywhere to turn to.
Well, I'm not going to say his name, but we knew a guy who worked on the score for a Louis movie.
Yeah, for
a long ass time, and it was going to be his way in, and then the fucking Louis movie is not released, never to be released, and this guy's score that he spent so long working on is gone, never to be released, and that just fucks everyone over. Yeah,
so it's there that, which is also another sense of pressure militating against these fucking creeps. How do you not feel the pressure of, okay, now a bunch of jobs hinge on you? You better not fuck up, or else all of these people are going to be fucked.
Well, these people they are just the peons. Their brains didn't come up with the genius of Pickle Rick.
They couldn't have come up with goddamn Pickle Rick. They couldn't have done that.
Couldn't have done that.
They couldn't have done this improvised dialogue, this improvised patter. Something about the animation industry, though, and what I also think the music industry is like this, where because it's specifically youth-oriented as well, it's also going to attract a certain amount of unsavory grooming type person. Because I think, these people, while they have an interest in animation, I think they also realize it is a way for them to interact with children a lot. And you see this in the case of John Kricfalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, who...
No, I never liked Ren and Stimpy. I never thought it was good. See,
I loved Ren and Stimpy
it's all about
so
me
much.
Now. No, I'm kidding. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing a callback.
You're doing a callback to the thing.
I'm doing that thing.
I always could see the sexual assault in Ren and Stimpy. I could see the grooming in Ren and Stimpy.
Honestly, okay, here's what happened. My parents didn't let me watch Ren and Stimpy, so that's all I have to say about Ren and Stimpy. They knew. My parents knew. I didn't.
My dad liked Ren and Stimpy.
I had to watch Doug.
Oh no! Doug is so much worse than Ren. Well, it's all right. I shouldn't rag on Doug. Jim Jenkins is fine.
Is
he?
But
Ren and Stimpy.
Let's see if there's any allegations.
If there's any allegations against Doug creator Jim Jenkins, don't laugh.
Sorry,
stop laughing.
Funny. It's not
funny. It's not. But that's the other aspect of it. Because it's Ren and Stimpy guy does something horrible. It's that incongruity between the innocuousness, the goofiness of what they do, and the horribleness of what they also do. So I think that's part of it, too. That's sort of why it's sort of the Jimmy Savile strategy, too. If I present myself as sort of a weird guy or an eccentric or a goofy guy, the allegations won't stick because people are like, oh, that's just him. That's just the way. And so that is also an element of it, the portraying yourself as a cartoon, so that you can, so that this cartoon version of you it just doesn't seem real enough to do this horrible thing. So there was John Kricfalusi, who is and the thing about Ren and Stimpy is every animator you meet loves Ren and Stimpy. It is and it's not just. Of course, there were many people on that show, and the art is not exclusive to John Kay, but it has a lot of his sensibilities in it. It's sort of hard to divorce it. Of course, it became unmoored and unmanageable and horrible with Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon Show, which, if you were searching for traces of his creepiness in Ren and Stimpy, that's the one that you look at, because that's the one that sort of featured a brand of sexual nihilism and sort of unfunny, just cruelty and brutality in it. Whereas the earlier Ren and Stimpy, because they had to rein it in because it was made for kids, I was a lot more adequate in that respect, or a lot less revealing of the darker intentions of the creator. But the other thing is, like, the animation in it is like, and the animation philosophy of Spoomco, which was never use the same drawing twice, it's like undoubtedly brilliant. You know, it's undoubtedly something that Ren and Stimpy is canonical. It's something that people cite as this immense. It's like this towering achievement of animation that has influenced everybody in the industry, which is, you know, with Rick and Morty, it can be more easily discarded because it's not necessarily in. I guess it's sort of an epochal show in the way, but it's not like intrinsic to the art of animation. It doesn't seem. I don't know if anyone is inspired to be an animator because of Rick and Morty. Whereas, like, Ren and Stimpy is like just the movement in it, the drawings.
I mean, I don't know. I can't say, but I think Rick and Morty was so popular that it might have inspired some, you know.
It probably did. It definitely inspired people
to get into animation. It certainly inspired a bunch of like knockoff shows.
Yeah.
There's a stylistic thing like that's copied now. So,
I mean, that's how Justin Roiland would get at people too. He'd find people that would make like Rick and Morty fan albums. Like, I made a whole album to Rick and Morty, dedicated to Rick and Morty, when I was like 18 years old, and be like, haha, I'm Justin Roiland, I'm in your DMs now, wow, that was a great album, and then get onto the darker shit.
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know that there are further allegations besides doing domestic violence.
Oh yeah, he's been grooming for years, allegedly. Right. It's a sort of a poorly kept animation industry secret that Justin Roiland has been creeping out for a while. And it's the same thing. Another thing happened too. We're going to go through all the animation creeps that we can think of here, because this is what the show is. This is the topic I've chosen for this week of the show. And one of them is Chris Savino of the Loud House.
And this is one I don't know. I've never heard of this. So.
The Loud House is a relatively popular children's show. But it's sort of a within it, apparently there is text that's a signal to a lot of people. The Loud House stars 13-year-old kids, and there is a disturbing amount of erotic artwork dedicated to this program, and it seems to be like within the text of the show itself, in the same way that like incest between Rick and Morty is part of the text of the show itself. So you get a lot of like Rick and Morty incest fan fiction. The same way the Loud House sort of cultivated this strange vibe within the show itself. Chris Savino was accused of grooming and sexual harassment and a lot of other stuff, and was kicked off the show. I don't know if Loud House I don't know if it was canceled or not, but yeah, there is always that disturbing thing of the hiding in plain sight thing, where like some sort of assaulter will put a code to what they're doing in the text of the show itself, which is only apparent after you find out the allegations, which we did.
There's a whole lot to psychoanalyze with that. I mean, it's like the company that he's working for is working to suppress these charges, because they're like, this is our moneymaker. Okay, we can't have this. We can't have this. We're going to suppress this. The person himself is like, if there's any good, if you can see that there's any good part in him at all, maybe a tiny little part, that part's screaming like, let me out. I'm trapped in here with a horrible guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to put these code messages in my animation, so maybe someone will notice and I'll go to jail and I can
I don't know if it's that.
Finally fix myself. But that's me trying to figure out a way to like find some humanity in them.
I don't think. I mean, they have humanity because they're human. I'm not going to go to bat for any of these people, but yeah, I think it's more sinister than that. I think it's like, I'm putting these coded messages because it gives me a weird thrill it gives me a weird sort of sexual thrill to put all these coded messages in this stuff for children. In the same way that there was all these controversies of like adult stuff in Disney cartoons, like including the real one where that disgruntled animator actually did put penises in the background of the Little Mermaid artwork. But that was less of a sexual thrill and more of a getting back at Disney. But yeah, I think there's all this. I think the other psychosis of being an animator is like you'll see a lot of animators who are very horny. Like it just seems to be a natural course of being an animator, because what you've been given is the gift to take all of your sexual fantasies, your thoughts, your darkest sexual fantasies, and you can bring them to life if you want. You can make it into a real thing, even the ones that are impossible, that could never happen. So I think that's like a dark aspect to why certain people like animation.
Can you draw me with Jessica Alba? Draw me with Jessica Alba, please.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't know if you remember in high school and middle school, everyone was like, Jessica Alba's the hottest woman alive.
She is hot. She's like, I don't know. She's the hottest.
Fellas, when did we hold a vote? I didn't get to vote.
She's up there. I when she first a Dark Angel Jessica Alba, oh my god, she looks so fucking good in James Cameron's Dark Angel.
What you're doing, objectifying her, is wrong. So quit it.
I know you can say a woman looks good, but you got to say it in the gay way. Oh my god, okay. That's. I don't understand why straight guys just don't talk like gay guys, and it'll be easier for them.
I think there is I think we do at times. It's like a tactic to try to get with women, is to pretend. I think that's a thing. I forget.
That's the Max Landis. It's known as the Max Landis, pretending you're gay in order to groom.
Is that what he allegedly does? Oh.
That's what he allegedly does.
Man. So we're touching on so many risky topics. Maybe
so many creeps. Too many creeps is what we're saying. Yeah. There's too many of them. Which is a great song by the Bush Tetras.
Is every man a creep?
No. I mean, not all men. Hashtag not all men.
I kind of think we are. I think we're all pretty creepy.
There was I remember the name of the documentary on Netflix. It was this incendiary title. I never watched it, but it was called "Are All Men Pedophiles?" I think that's a great name for a documentary. Just getting right to the point. But yeah, I think there is like certain discourse, especially in like the manosphere, the man influencer discourse. There's a lot of like, no, men need to go after young pussy. That's what we want. It is ingrained in us socially. We need to go after young pussy. You know, it's and obviously that's not true. You don't need to do anything. There is trying to divine inborn responses to stuff is always.
I mean, the only things you need to do are like wipe your butt and eat every day. That's really all you need.
You don't even need to do that.
You should. You need to wipe your butt.
You don't need to do anything. You're okay. You're okay as you are.
You don't even need to wipe. Oh wow.
Yeah. So there are all these elements surrounding these, and I guess the most unsavory aspect of it too is you're ostensibly making these products for children as well. While Rick and Morty is like an adult show, it is kids love it because it's a cartoon. And so you wonder if they go in thinking like, I'm going to gain the confidence of a bunch of very young people in order to get at them. You wonder if that is their game plan from the start, or if they develop this sort of thing as they get more powerful and less accountable.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's their game plan. It might be the game plan. I mean, I don't know. Certain professions do attract bad people, right?
It seems like for like certain musicians, it seems like for like blood on the dance floor types, that is the game plan. It's like, I'm going to make music specifically so that I can creep on people.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, priesthood attracts certain kind of people, educators, camp counselors, Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Anything where you're adjacent to children will attract the creeps.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, for you, okay, I'm not going to, like, argue with you that hard, but for you to say that, because like not every cartoonist becomes wildly popular and successful. You have to be pretty damn lucky. So if you are trying to creep on people and you're like, the way I'm going to do it is by becoming a wildly successful cartoonist, it's like good luck. You have like a 1 out of a billion shot.
You could have just become a banker. You could have just made money in another way to make yourself less accountable.
Be a Boy Scout person, and you will be able to do that way easier and not get caught for like 30 years. These
are the tips that we're offering you on this week's House of Decline.
No, seriously,
these are the pedophile tips.
I don't know if I think it might be a case of the power corrupting, but I don't know. I mean, because like, would Justin Roiland have, if he hadn't become insanely rich and powerful, would he have been like this? Probably.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. Maybe was he like this before this? I don't know how far the allegations go back.
I just don't know if he was like that, and that's why he was like, I'm gonna make Rick and Morty.
As an aside, it's funny that now three cast members of the show Gravity Falls, it has featured T.J. Miller, Louis C.K., and now Justin Roiland. They've all been X'd out.
Well, I thought T.J. Miller got canceled for saying he had a bomb on the train.
Yeah, he got double canceled for that and sexual assault allegations while in college. We're T.J. Miller.
Although we talked about him before, he's like the only one where he's like had part of his brain taken out and became a wildly different person afterwards. So
I suppose I mean Roseanne had that brain injury, and did that make her say the thing? Did that make her into a Q person?
I love Roseanne.
She's a full on QAnon person now, which
Roseanne.
Is disturbing.
She is so cool.
Recent Trump Roseanne.
It's so funny. Because she loves weed so much.
Sure, there's a lot of weed Trump people, though.
I love the weed Trump people. If I had my druthers, I'd move to Alaska, live in a cabin, and be a weed Trumper.
There you go.
I'd just be like shooting guns at my door when I thought I heard something.
I love marijuana and Donald J. Trump. I love smoking weed, shooting guns. You talk about another subset of people that are creeps is the famous libertarian creep.
Right.
Always that is an often profiled set of creep. They're always arguing about age of consent.
Yeah.
I think I'm not trying to draw a larger conclusion about this, except for the fact that I think this is an industry that I care about, that has mounting pressures, and it feels like there are situations in the industry, especially the fact that employees are non-unionized in it too, where you have less recourse if you are sexually harassed. So if that's the case, there is just like, how do you root this out? You know, how do you get at this? Do you just do it by exposing them? Is that all you can do? Is just talk about it in the court of public opinion and make it known? Is that what you can do to prevent this happening again, or
that's
is
the
it just?
idea. I mean, is it working? It doesn't. It seems like the Zoomers are all up in doing sexual assault. So
I don't know.
They fucking love it.
That's their bread and butter.
They're doing it left and right. They're doing it from Monday through Friday.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we could take these stop laughing.
All you 17 to 25-year-olds need to quit doing sexual assault.
Why have I chosen this fucking subject? What did I think would happen?
Yeah, hey, I changed the byline to comedy-oriented podcast, and then Alex is like,
now we're gonna delve right into the sexual assault. It's gonna be all this horrible stuff. But I think it's also instructive to me because it is the story of our times, right? I haven't seen Tar. I should see Tar.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like a movie I would really like.
But then you didn't watch it.
I didn't watch Tar. But I know what the movie's about, and the movie involves Tar. She's being a creep. You know, that's one of the...
Oh, yeah. It's a great movie. One of the funniest things about Tar, watch Tar and then go read the New Yorker review. Which is scathing, but the New Yorker is prominently featured in the movie.
Yeah.
And then they, in real life, gave it a scathing review. But other than, I think the New Yorker was the one bad review of Tar.
I think that's very interesting to me because I haven't seen the movie, but I imagine the movie is critical of institutions like the New Yorker who prop up these figures and make it harder for them to get at.
They accuse it of being a conservative and regressive movie.
Oh, how so?
Well, they're
because you're supposed to root for Tar? I don't think you're supposed to root for Tar.
That's what they basically say is happening, but it's not. It's a movie about a bad person doing bad things, and I don't think the guy Richard Brody, the reviewer, really understood that. But yeah, Tar's pretty good. I got the names of the director confused, so I thought it was the same guy that directed Joker, and I was like, "Wow, he's really."
You thought it was Todd.
He's gotten way smarter since Joker, but no, it's not the same guy.
I was gonna say Todd Haynes, who's the guy that directed. Just Todd Haynes is not the director of Joker.
But yeah, Tar's good. I mean, it's like kind of, if you're not like super into classical music, you might find it a little bit boring, but it does pick up.
But I think importantly about Tar is it is the story of someone who has created something or has gotten to a position in a field of entertainment where they're able to sort of parlay that love that people have for their art into their darker obsession. I think this story of it doesn't just happen with sexual assault, but of someone building something up, especially something that is venerated and popular that everyone loves, but then it comes crashing down because they just get to a point where, I don't know, there are no more battles left to win, or their hubris is taken over, or
it's hubris and power. I mean, that's the theme is the power and hubris that accompanies it once you are all powerful. Because you're thinking as you're watching her do these things, like, what is she thinking? Why would she risk everything and her whole family and the entire, like, all the people that work under her? Mm-hmm. She risks it all for this really silly reason. And it's very hard to understand. Like, arguably, the character she plays is a genius, right? Mm-hmm. But not at everything. Yeah. You're not, and that's sort of, if people are telling you you're a genius and you're a genius and you're a genius and you think you're a genius at everything in life, and no one is that much of a polymath. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be like a relationship polymath as well as the best conductor in the world or whatever. But you think you are. You think everyone loves you. And you can do whatever you want and manipulate people because you can manipulate an orchestra. She's manipulating people in the orchestra, and she thinks she can manipulate people outside of the orchestra.
Yeah, manager brain, the ultimate form of manager brain.
It's a very good movie. It's very fun. Well,
you know what that reminds me of is
fun, which is demented compared to normal people.
Well, it's also, the movie is like, it tackles this serious subject, but it's also very funny in a way because you get to see this person fucking up. And it's always funny to see somebody fuck up and try to weasel out of something. And they are met with the limitations of their own hubris.
Yeah, it's not funny until the end, in my opinion. And then it becomes funny at the end. In a very black, dark humor sort of way, black comedy. So, the other movie I watched was White Noise.
Based on the Dom DeLillo book.
Did you say Dom or Dawn?
Is it Dom DeLillo?
No.
I think I'm confusing it with Dom DeLuise.
Yeah. It's Dawn. Like Dawn.
It's Don DeLillo. Yeah, it's not Dom DeLillo.
Yeah. White Noise is good. Very fun. A lot of tie-ins to the pandemic and modern society, which I found very interesting. Mm-hmm. Really liked the character Adam Driver plays. I think this might have been the first time I saw Greta Gerwig in a movie.
She's good. I don't mind Greta Gerwig. I like her movies. I liked the Little Women.
Don Cheadle.
I'm sure I'll like Barbie.
Don Cheadle is in White Noise with, I think, some of the funniest lines.
Don Cheadle's very funny.
He plays a professor of Elvis studies. And Adam Driver is a professor of Hitler. And so they're best friends. And
It's funny.
and they have it's on Netflix. You should check it out. It's good.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah,
So 2 recommendations.
Yeah. A good double feature for you.
I think the story of Tar as well, it's also the story of J.K. Rowling and Notch from Minecraft and even low tax. I mean, that's what we were talking about last week, is the low taxification of reality. And that's the low tax story. You, through dint of fate and through some positive version of yourself, made something that everybody loved. And then you couldn't help but fuck it up. All of it got to you in the worst possible way. And you became sort of drunk with power. Even in that small low tax way.
Or drunk with alcohol.
Or drunk with alcohol. Yes, absolutely. But this continuing low taxification, where it used to be there was no low taxification. You could do this stuff and get away with it because there was no structure to call people out for it. But now, in this society that is obsessed with failure and missed opportunities and this lack of a future, we like to see it writ small in these individual stories about people that promise some great thing, only for that to be revealed to be built on this toxic, dark network of evil that the author was. I also think, death of the author is, you can talk about it a lot, but I think the way we consume media now is with the authors in mind. I think it's really hard to divorce yourself from that. I think it's easier for some forms of music. Like, I think it's like very easy for me to listen to Wagner, like knowing he was a vicious anti-Semite, knowing that he probably would have been a Nazi if he'd had the opportunity, and even though he predated them by 100 years, so that's not really, can't really say that. But even though Wagner had some objectionable shit in his past, to the point where, as a Jew listening to him, you're like, should I be listening to Wagner right now? There's even a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about it. But I think the thing with music, though, is especially like instrumental music, which is all about sort of emotional cadences, and it's inherently abstract and, much more up to the listener to interpret what it means than, say, Rick and Morty, where there is text where you can insert your weird little sexual assault ideas in it. In art forms with less text or more abstract text, it is easier to divorce from the artist who made it. Like, or think about someone like Picasso. He did terrible things, and we love his work. And I think for most people, it's easy to divorce yourself from the man and what he produced, because it's in the past, and two, because it's like there's something about it that doesn't evidence that dark side.
They talk about all this in Tar. You really got to watch it, because both of those things you mentioned are talked about. She plays this speech by Leonard Bernstein where he talks about the expressiveness of music and how it can express things that cannot be said in words. Yeah, which is ties into what you're saying. And then she also has this interaction with a I believe they describe themselves as a pangender zoomer in her or some kind of like, stereotypical...
some person who would have some sort of conflict with her stuffy conservative
so there's this interaction
opinion
she has with like a queer person in her class who doesn't want to play Bach because Bach was a misogynist.
Yeah, he's an old white man. Yeah,
and she goes off on this tirade about how you don't want to, like, do you want everything that your identity is summed up later as a reason why people won't like play your music or whatever? Because Bach did bad things. I think. I don't know anything about Bach.
I don't know anything about it. I'm sure, like, I think in the same way that people are now roundly rejecting, or people in academic settings are rejecting the Western canon of old white guys, which I think is good. It's just probably a good way to explore intellectual curiosity, because there are a ton of composers that are overlooked in favor of the status quo, and even other composers from those eras. And I think the other thing in the movie is the kid is like very young, right?
Well, he's like he's a college age, so he's probably 20 or 21 or 22.
Yeah, but even like dressing down college kids, I always thought was like, those people are still babies to me. I never understood what was productive about a professor going like ripping into a student. Like, I think the way I've seen the clip from Tar that you're talking about, and I remember being talked to by certain professors like that. And it's like an intimidating and humiliating and awful experience.
Yeah, she was being intimidating. I mean, it's not the way you should do it. But like, it's also, on the other hand, frustrating when someone just rejects Bach, like just like out.
Yeah,
of
but
hand.
I think that's part of the movie too, where she's sort of in that speech. You're sort of a little sympathetic to her idea. Because she sort of articulates it in an interesting way or in an authoritative way. The movie at that point gets you to sympathize with Tar just a little, or at least allow you to see some of the logic of what she's saying, which then I think later in the movie that gets turned around.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's this. She has this discussion with someone who they're talking about, a composer who supposedly kicked his wife down the stairs, and then she kind of laughs about it with the guy, and you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, this is dark.
It's a movie that I think a lot about, because I watch it again, especially in the context of new allegations against Brad Pitt, which very much changes the context of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, which is a movie about a fantasy of the problematic man being useful or somehow good or vindicated in some way. There was like a time when the bad man was someone who would be able to sustain a life in Hollywood, but their way was their lifestyle, who they were was just inevitably rejected. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you have all these references to Robert Blake and like Bill Cosby, and even Roman Polanski himself is a character in the movie as a problematic man who was eventually canceled. And the character Brad Pitt, he's a wife murderer. In the book, in the novelized version, it confirms that he did murder his wife, but you're still expected to have some sort of sympathy or root for the character in some way because he murders the Manson family people. But I don't know if Tarantino was trying to say this in the movie, but the Manson family kids are right. They're correct. These people should be murdered. Maybe not poor, innocent Margot Robbie, the picture of innocence, Margot Robbie, but they were this unrepentant wife killer played by Brad Pitt, who is allegedly an unrepentant wife beater and child abuser. Maybe they should kill these guys. Maybe the Manson family kids were right, and maybe it is like a weird tragedy to see them destroyed in this way. Obviously that's not true, but I think that's part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too. It like pushes those buttons and sort of gets you to reevaluate. But it seems like overwhelmingly in favor of the bad man. You know how like in True Detective, Rust says, "The world needs bad men, Marty. They prevent the other bad men from coming to the door." I think there's that mentality amongst certain people that would protect assaulters and predators, where it's like, you need people with these fucked up behaviors in your life, or because that's where the mojo comes from. That's where I think there is sort of a weird sort of preservational aspect amongst people that want to have their problematic faves as well. Sort of a recapitulation of them by sort of using the noble idea of like, oh, everyone is more than just the worst part of themselves. It's very, that's a Christian idea. You can come back from it. You can, and as long as you accept the light of God into you can make your life useful, which is why I think a lot of criminals who are genuinely guilty about what they've done often turn to religion, because it has that message of you can always come back. But I think in sort of a more truthful sense, some things you really can't come back from. There's like nothing you can do to make it better or absolve it, or enough good you can do to necessarily offset it in some way. It's just like a harsh truth that a lot of people don't want to accept. As more, it's funny. Like, did you see Barbarian was another thing that keeps getting referenced as these sexual assault scandals keep coming up?
Because of that character who's driving, the famous sort of the meme is now he's driving in the car, blissfully unaware of the allegations that are about to drop. Yeah,
but that movie is canny too, because spoilers for Barbarian. In the end, Justin Long, I was about to say Justin Roiland. Justin Long has this big speech about how he wants to improve as a person, but then ends up shoving our protagonist hero off of a water tower as an act of self-preservation. Like, he makes all of these errs towards self-improvement and you can be a better person, but inevitably just resorts to the self-interested thing again. So I think that's another aspect of it too, where it's like people sort of get at that desire that everyone has for redemption, and then they pin it on themselves. You know, I have done bad things, but I can be redeemed. Hell, that's what Dan Harmon did. That was his big thing. That was his pitch for why he should be excused for his previous actions and continue making stuff and benefiting off of fame. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues associated with this, and the reason why it is important to me, I'm just gonna wrap up here. We're nearing about that time, coming around about that time. But the reason why this is important to me is because there is this desire to have this art form that you like not plagued by these scandals or these things where it takes like the medium of the art form or the unique qualities of the art form or why it makes it attractive to certain people, and to take that attraction and to turn it on its head and make it into something just wrong. You know, it's that détournement of evil that is what gets at me and why I felt compelled to talk about this for an hour. Yeah, and I think it's just, with animation, it's just particularly creepy, too, because you have I'm a goofy, zany guy, and I'm using it to cover up this terrible shit in a way that you don't necessarily have with, you know, maybe stand-up comedy is a close analog to that, because that's how creeps like Chris D'Elia would sort of get at people and dog allegations. It's like, how could it be Chris D'Elia? He makes a face. He's a weird guy. He makes a face. How could he do these things? So, yeah, just like be skeptical of entertainers. Be skeptical of anyone trying to earn your confidence through artwork. They might be doing it. No, that's also like a terrible way to live your life. I think what you should do is, while you should enjoy art, you shouldn't use art as avatars of your own personality. Use your personality as your personality. Sometimes you feel the instinct to, like, you enjoy a piece of art or a piece of entertainment so much, you grasp onto it and it becomes endemic. It becomes one of the pillars holding your consciousness up. And you shouldn't do that. You should have pillars based on values and actions as opposed to pieces of entertainment product. They can color your life in an interesting way, but they shouldn't form foundations of your personality. And I think that's why these revelations can be so shattering to people, especially when it involves art or entertainers or something that someone emotionally communes with.
You heard it here first. Don't be a stan. Don't stan. Stop doing that. It's weird.
Stan yourself.
The whole point of the song is that it's weird to do that. Right?
Yeah. Did you even listen to Stan? Like, really listen to the lyrics of Stan?
Come on, he's not healthy. He's fucked up. Don't do that.
He's abusing Dido. You don't want to do that. You don't want to abuse Dido.
Just like nod your head to the song a little bit, turn it off. All right? Have a good day. Go outside, walk your dog.
Yeah.
And also go to patreon.com/.
Patreon.com/House of Decline. Okay. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone, as we take on these serious subjects. And have a good day and take care. Bye.